everybody, my name is Anna. I'm 10 years old and usually I read stories for you. Well, they are very good and you can listen to them before you go to bed. So today I will read a special book. Let's start reading it. When My Naughty Little Sisters Was Good by Dorothy Edwards, illustrated by Shirley Huggins. Chapter 1. My naughty little sister learned to talk. Once upon a time, when my sister and I were little children, we had a very nice next-door neighbor called Mrs. Johns. Mrs. Johns hadn't any children of her own, but she was very fond of my sister and me. Mrs. John especially liked my sister, even when she was naughty. Even when she was a cross, noisy baby with screamy red face, Mrs. John would be kind and smiley to her and say, "There's a ducky then," to her. And sometimes Mrs. Johns would be so kind and smiley that my bad little sister would forget to scream. She would stare at Mrs. John instead, and when Mrs. John said, poor little thing," to her, my little sister would go all moody, quiet for her. My naughty little sister liked Mrs. Johns. When my sister was a very little baby girl, she couldn't talk at all at first. She just made funny, blowy, bubbly noise. But one day, without anyone telling her to, she said, "Mom, Mom," to our mother. We were surprised. We told her she was a very clever baby. And because we were pleased, she said, "Mom, Mom," again and again. She said it and said it and said it until we got very used to it indeed. Then another day, when my sister was saying "Mom, Mom" and playing with her piggy toes, she saw our father looking at her. So she said, "Dad, Dad," instead. Father was very excited, and so was Mother, because our funny baby was saying "Mom, Mom" and "Dad, Dad" as well. I was excited too, and so was dear Mrs. Johns. And because we were so excited, my sister went on and sang "Dad, Dad, Dad," "Mama," and "Mom, Mom, Mom," over and over again until Father and Mother and I weren't a bit excited anymore. Only dear Mrs. Johns went on being especially pleased about it. She was a nice lady. So one morning, when Mrs. John looked over the fence and saw my baby sister in her pram, sucking her finger, she said, "Don't suck your finger, ducky. Say, Dad, Dad, and Mom, Mom for Mrs. John." And what do you think? My funny sister took her finger out of her mouth and said, "Dance!" She said it very loudly, "Dance!" like that, and Mrs. John was so astonished, she dropped all her basket of wet washing. "Dance! Dance! Dance!" my sister said, because she couldn't quite say chance, and Mrs. Johns was so pleased. She left all her wet washing on the path and ran in to fetch Mr. Chance to come and hear. Mr. Chance, who had been hammering nail in the kitchen, came out with a hammer in his hand and nail in his mouth, running as fast as he could to hear my sister say, "Dance!" When she said it to him too, Mr. Chance said my sister was a little knocked out, which meant she was very clever indeed. After that, my sister became their special friend. When she got bigger, she started to say other words too. But Mr. and Mrs. John still liked best when she said "dance" to them. If she was in our garden and they were in their garden, they always talked to her. Even when she could walk and get in mischief, they still liked her. One day, a very funny thing happened. Mrs. Chance was in her kitchen washing a lettuce for Mr. Chance's dinner when she heard a little voice say, "Dance!" And there was my naughty little sister standing on Mrs. John's back doorstep, and no one was with her. My little sister was smiling in a very pleased way. The back gate was closed and the side gate was closed, and the fence was too high, she couldn't have got over it. Mrs. John was very pleased to see my sister and gave her a big kiss and jam tart. But she was surprised as well and said, "How did you get here, Ducky?" But my little sister didn't know enough words to tell about things. She just ate her jam tart. Then she gave Mrs. Jones a big kiss with jam on, but she didn't say anything. So Mrs. John took my sister back to our house, and Mrs. John and Mother wondered and wondered. The very next day, when Mrs. John was upstairs making her bed, she heard a little voice downstairs saying, "Dance, dance!" And there was my sister again. And the back gate was shut and the side gate was shut. The fence was still too high for her to climb over. Mrs. Johns ran straight downstairs and picked my sister up and took her home again. When Mr. Johns came home, Mrs. John told him and Mother told Father, and they all stood in the garden and talked. And my sister laughed, but she didn't say anything. Then I remembered something I'd found out when I was only as big as my sister was then. Right up by the big bush at the back of our garden was a place in the fence where wood wasn't nailed anymore. And if you were little enough, you could push the wood to the side and get through. When I showed them the place, everybody laughed. My sister laughed very loud indeed. And then she went through the hole straight away to show how easy it was. After that, my sister was always going to see Mrs. Johns, but because the hole was so small, my sister was growing bigger all the time. Mr. Johns found another place in his fence, and he made a little gate there. It was a dear little white gate with an easy up and down handle. There was step up to it and step down from it. Mr. John planted a pink rose to go over the top of it and made a path from the gate to his garden path. All for my sister. It was her very own gate. And when Mrs. John knocked on our wall at 11 o'clock every morning, and my sister went in to have a cup of cocoa with her, she didn't have to go through a hole in the fence. She went through her very own gate, Quack John's gate. Chapter 2. My Naughty Little Sister Toys. Long ago, when my sister and I were little girls, we had a kind cousin named George who used to like making things with wood. He makes trays and boxes and things with holes in to hang on the wall for pipes. And when he had made them, he gave them away as presents. George made me a chair for my teddy bear and a nice little bookcase for my storybooks. Then George thought he would like to make something for my little sister. Now, that wasn't at all easy because my sister was still a very little child. She still went out in a pram sometime. She could walk a bit, but when she was in a great hurry, she liked crawling better. She could set word thought. My sister had a very smart red pram. She liked her pram very much. She was always pleased when our mother took her out in it. She learned to say pram, pram, pram when she saw it, and right, to show that she wanted to go on out. Well, now kind cousin George was sorry to think that my sister liked rolling better than walking. So he said, I know, I will make her a little wooden horse on wheels so she can push herself along with it. And that is just what he did. He made a strong little wooden horse with long wavy tail and smiley tooth face that he painted himself. He painted the horse white with black dots. Then he put strong red wheels on it and stroked red handle. It was a lovely pushing horse. I said, "Oh, isn't it lovely?" And I pushed it up and down to show my sister. "Look, baby, gee, gee," I said. My sister laughed. She was so glad to have the wooden horse. She stood up on her fat little leg and she got hold of the strong red handle, and she pushed too. And when the horse ran away on his red wheels, my sister walked after him holding on the red handle, and she walked and she walked. Clever cousin George. Mother said, "Does the horse, dear, say thank you, cousin George, for the nice horse?" And she lifted my sister up so that she could give him a nice thank you hug, because of course that was the way my sister thanked people in those days. Then Mother said, "Horse, horse, horse," so that my sister could learn the new word, and she patted the wooden horse when she said it. But my sister didn't say horse at all. She patted the wooden horse too, but she said pram, pram, pram. And she picked up her tiny teddy bear and laid him on the pushing horse back. And she picked up my doll cot blanket and covered Teddy up with it. She pushed the horse up and down and said pram. When George came to see us again, he was surprised to find that my funny little sister had made the horse into a pram. But he said, "Well, anyway, she can walk now." And so she could. She had stopped crawling. Because George liked my little sister, he made her another nice thing. He made her a pretty little dollhouse just big enough for her to play with. He set a room upstairs and a room downstairs, and there were some pretty little chair and table and a bed in it that he had made himself. When my sister saw this doll's house, she smiled and smiled. When she opened the front of the dollhouse and saw the things inside, she smiled a lot more. She took all the chair and things out of the doll's house and laid them on the floor, and she began to play with it at once. But she didn't play houses with it at all, because there was a room upstairs and a room downstairs and front oven that she said it was an oven. She pretended to light a light inside it, just as she had seen our mother do when she cooking the dinner, and she said oven. She called the chair and table and bed dinner, and she put them back in the dollhouse again and pretend they were cooking, while she took tiny teddy bear for a ride on pushing horse pram. She played and played with her dollhouse oven and her pushing horse pram. Our cousin George said, "What an extraordinary child you are." Then he laughed. "That gave me an idea," he said, and when he went away, he was smiling to himself. The next time George came, and he was still smiling. And when my sister saw what he had made, she smiled too. This time she knew what it was. George said make a lovely wooden pretending stove with 2 ovens and pretending fire and real tin chimney. We don't have stuff like these nowadays, but some people still did when I was young. There was one in our granny's house. My sister said, Gran oven at once. I gave my little sister a toy saucepan and a kettle from a toy box, and mother gave her 2 little panty tins. George said, you can cook on the top and its oven just like Granny does. And that was just my sister did do. She cooked pretending dinner on the wooden stove all day long, and Cousin George was very pleased to think she was playing in the right way with something he had made for her. But that isn't the end of the story. Oh no. One day, my naughty little sister, bad friend Harry, came to visit us with his mother. He was only a little baby boy then, but he liked playing with my sister even in those days. When my little sister saw Harry, he said, Boy, play oven. She wanted Harry to cook dinner too. But Harry looked at the wooden stove and the real tin chimney and the pretend fire and he said, Engine, puff, puff. Then Harry pretended to put coal in the little fireplace. He opened the oven door and banged them shut again, just like the man who helped the engine driver did. He made choof choof choofy train noise. Harry had been with his father to see train, and he knew just the right noise to make and the right thing to do. My sister didn't know anything about trains then, but it was such a lovely game that she made all the noise Harry made and said, engine too. After that, she and Harry had lots of lovely games playing engine with little wooden stuff. When Cousin George heard about this, he said, pram horse and oven dollhouse and now engine stuffs. He said, it's no good. When that child is a bigger girl, I shall just give her some wood and some nails and let her make her own toys. I think he must have forgotten that he said this because he never did give her any wood and nails. I wonder what she would have made if he had. Thank you for watching my video. If you like the video, you could put it on a like and a subscribe. That do very much. Thank you.